Hello everyone, my name is Ali and I am over here just looking in the distance to our very good friend Mvula. On the camera we've got VM, who was lucky enough to show it this morning to us alongside with James, and we are super thrilled after a few attempts of trying to get out of camp because we had some problems with the communications and everything else, but we finally managed to get here, and now we get rewarded with the beautiful presence of this male leopard over here, who luckily hasn't lost his kill. Seems like it's quite a big Impala ram that he's got just all over there for himself. As you can see, he hasn't eaten all too much. I think it's probably because the day has been quite hot, and if you can see over there how quickly he's panting, his tummy is starting to look just a little bit full, I would say. So definitely there's been some eating and some indulging in the Impala he caught. And just as the day starts cooling down, luckily this afternoon we have a bit of an overcast weather, lots of clouds going around, so it's a bit of a better condition for him to just have his head up rather than hiding in the bush waiting for everything to cool down. Oh well, hello. So this particular boy that we're looking at, you can tell that he is a bit of an older guy. If you just look at and pay attention at the ears, you will see that they're very tattered, lots of cuts, lots of little things going on. Yeah, exactly like VM is showing you guys, and you can tell that it's a bit of a male that's had quite a bit of adventures in his lifetime. I think this particular male, he's come back from quite a bit. When I saw him in the northern Sabi Sand just I think I would say even a few months ago now, he was just still here, around here passing by. It didn't seem that he was going to be all around. He was busy hunting porcupines, which is normally a good indication that this male is not doing so well, or maybe he's in the last legs. But look at him today, super proud with his big Impala ram. So I am very happy for him, because he is, well, one of my old friends, and probably I'm slightly biased towards him because I used to know his mother when I used to guide down south in the Sabi Sand in the further southern section of the reserve, the outcrop female, and she was definitely one of my favorites. Oh, look at him. Super hot. Thank you everyone for giving me such a warm welcome. I think, if it started off as a third time was a charm for us to manage to get out of camp, but I mean, we've been rewarded with this fantastic view of, this wonderful male leopard, so I'm pretty happy about it. I hope you guys are just as thrilled as I am, just to see him also just with his head up. Oh, hello. Maybe too many flies around, a bit of dirt, maybe even a little bit of blood here and there. Hello, boy. You see, so he seems like he would want to do something, but maybe it's too late. Frida Pointer wondering when he made this kill. Judging by the amount that's been eaten and the fact that he was found this morning, I would say that either early this morning, as I said, or probably late last afternoon. He doesn't seem to have eaten all that much. There's still quite a bit left. And I mean, like we said, he was just found this morning, probably found some tracks along the road where he was either walking to stalk the Impala, or maybe he was just walking on the road heading to the nearest water source because he had already killed it. But definitely quite a fresh kill. He seems quite happy with it. I think he's just busy concentrating on all the attention that's going on around him. But you see, completely not bothered by everything that's happening around him, because he knows we're not here for his Impala. That's all his to take. Definitely a good meal. You see, at this time of the year, so the Impala, the males go into the rutting season, which is also the breeding season for them. So the males are so busy fighting with each other and just advertising their territory and just making sure that they manage to get a few females that they can mate with and herd them in their particular area, so now other males mate with them, that a lot of the times they just get distracted, which in this case is perfect for this older male leopard, as he probably got lucky, not because he's not strong enough or anything anymore, but because he had that opportunity, that gap that leopards often use just to try and make a successful kill. And in this case, well, obviously, unfortunately, the distraction of the impala was to the leopard's advantage. See? Kitty Kitty Bang Bang, you were asking about the name of Mvula's mother. She was known as Outcrop in the further southern side of the Sabi Sand, which is where he was born. Actually, down there, he wasn't known as Mvula back then. I think he was born in 2005, if I'm not mistaken. But he was known as a Leadwood male. So obviously he... okay, well, that's it for him. So true to leopards, he obviously dispersed far away from the territory, and he is pretty much on the opposite end of the Sabi Sand from where he was born. So his mother, the outcrop female, was somewhat, if you can say, similar to him, like just maybe in the face and light-colored eyes and so on. She was quite a stunning, very, very good mother in terms of a leopard, and I used to like her because she was obviously, as a lot of the leopards in this area are, quite relaxed in terms of the vehicle movements and, you know, would allow her to track her and find her and so on. But she always had almost this, I want to say grumpiness, but it's not grumpiness, just I think this wild spirit to her that even when you found her, she would just every now and again hiss just to look at you, just to remind you that she is a wild animal, she's there, she's okay with your presence, but don't try anything funny because then she won't be happy about it. So I think I probably saw one of the last litters that Outcrop had. But while this particular wonderful male is sleeping and enjoying everything here, we're going to go back to Tristan and see what else he's got over there. Well, aren't we lucky? Just as we come back, here he is, finally deciding to have a bit of a bite. So I'm sure you can appreciate now just how big he is and how great that camouflage is working for him. Now, I can't see what he's doing exactly from here, but from the angle it seems like he's just busy trying to take away some of the hair from the impala, from the top part of the body, just to try and get rid of all that hair and the fat and the skin, just so that he can get into the nice, juicy, meaty part. I wonder if he's going to try and move it, otherwise I think if we go slightly forward... Okay, we're gonna just give him 2 seconds, see what he's going to be up to, otherwise we're going to try a bit of a different spot, because I'm just concerned that if he does decide to move the carcass slightly to the one side or to the other side, as leopards do, then obviously we would have moved all the way for nothing. So I'd just rather be patient for another minute or so, see what he wants to do, because sometimes if the carcass starts being a bit in the sun, because then the meat starts rotting a bit quicker, they will drag it into the shade, and sometimes they even, just to prevent other animals from smelling it, they start covering it with some grass. So let's see what he's up to. I think... James, you're wondering if I have any story from Mvula's past that I could share with you guys, and the answer is unfortunately not. I only started seeing him recently when I moved into the northern Sabi Sand, because by the time that I started guiding in the south at Lion Sands where he was born, unfortunately he was already long gone. So I had just only heard stories of him and his mother, which I think it was called... Oh, I can't remember now, it's escaping my brain. I think it started with a T, but Outcrop definitely the female, and I think he had another male cub. I could potentially be mixing this up with another of Outcrop's litters, so if you guys know the answer, you're more than welcome to let me know. Alright, I think we're gonna try and move around just as soon as he takes his final bite to see what he's up to, although I'm not too sure the visual's going to be great from the other side. Okay, because now obviously he's decided to move. You see, so he's now biting with a bit more intention, because what he wants to try and do is just when he puts the head on the side and then he starts biting like this, then his jaw acts like a scissor, and then that way he's able to cut through the skin and then get into all of the interesting goody parts that he's after. But let's try go around, see if maybe we can see his beautiful eyes. I'm not too sure which way is going to be the best way. VM, what do you think? Backward or forward? Let's see. Let's see how this goes. Obviously a bit of a tree in our way. Wonderful sickle bush. Take care. You would like to know if there are any trees where he could hoist the kill. There aren't any big trees close by. Funny enough, if you just look ahead of me, just all the way over there, that is the closest, biggest tree that he could potentially put the kill up on top. However, is a bit too far. I think he would try his luck, seeing it is a big Impala ram, just to try and eat a bit of it. So if he does decide to host it, then he doesn't have to carry as much weight. Nearly went into the wrong spot over there. Alrighty. Let's just go around here. Sorry, my earpiece is just falling off, because who really needs ears? There we go. Alrighty. Okay, almost there. Well, hello. Alright. I think that's where we stop. And then he is. You can now appreciate that he hasn't actually eaten all that much, and it would even seem like the stomach is still in there. Oh, well, look at that. Well, I apologize. This is quite gruesome for some, so if it's a bit too much, you can always just make a cup of tea or coffee and then come back once this part is pretty much done. This is, however, how leopards in general tend to handle their kills. I am assuming now that he actually made it this morning, because he hasn't even taken the stomach contents out. So once that happens, or from what I can see, I don't think he has, so they will just probably try and take them all out. They won't normally eat the stomach contents, because I mean it's an Impala, so it will feed mostly on leaves and grass, which is not the diet of a leopard. However, every now and again, if they're under a stressful situation, or if they need some sort of nutrient or good bacteria for their intestines, just to make sure that their digestion goes a bit better, then they might feed on some of it. I think, however, this boy has got still a lot to go through before he can actually enjoy a lot of it. Sierra, you'd like to know who my favorite leopard is. I don't really know. I mean, obviously, as you get to know some of the individuals and everything else, there are, ooh, well, hello, beautiful eyes. You see those eyes? Those were his mom's eyes. Very, very similar. I've bonded with quite a few leopards, and by bonded meaning that I really enjoy them. I don't think they would ever recognize me or know who I am. But I would say probably there are a few that are in my top 5. Off the top of my head, I can think of Outcrop, well, because she was just so cool. And there's another female called the Scotia female that is still down in the south, and the reason why I'm particularly biased towards this leopard, the Scotia female, was because I was super lucky to be the first one on the first 2 occasions to actually see her first 2 litters. So it was an incredible experience, and I was just so happy that she was comfortable enough to share it with me. But again, you know, it's very hard to top leopard cubs with any other leopard, so I'm not too sure. But again, I enjoy the ones with a personality, the ones that are always up to something and always have a way of coming back and surprising you and doing all of the unexpected things, like Mvula over here. A few months ago, everyone was saying that he was probably a bit too old to carry on, but look at him. Look how happy he is now, just trying to make the most of his skill. And trying he is. think we got particularly lucky today because the weather is not too hot, so this is actually good because now he's feeding, he's active. Had it been yesterday, very likely he wouldn't have been up to all this much. We can hear some crunching of the bone over there. So you see, it's almost a process for the leopards. You know, when you have like a hamburger that you imagine that you have it all wrapped up, they do the same. They have to start unwrapping everything, getting through the exterior packaging to get to all of the inside stuff. Samantha, you would like to know if the heat spoils the taste of the meat. My answer would be like, it probably does, although I don't think there's been any scientific studies done regarding if leopards will prefer the taste or not. I have seen some animals and some even lions eating some very, very foul meat that's been out in the sun, but when it gets to these levels, often you will find that the predators actually leave the kill and don't eat, doesn't matter how much of it is left. So it's also part of the reason to try and avoid this process for it, very likely so that it's not as untasty, if I can put it that way, that why he's had it here, or why he's dragged it all the way under here under the bush. If today was a much hotter day, then he would definitely have dragged that kill further to the back underneath the tree, just to make sure that it's out of the sun as much as possible. I think maybe he's tired now of chewing. He had to take a bit of a Alright, while Mvula tries to get through to the rest, we're gonna go back to Tristan and let's see what else he's got over there. Hopefully some more tracks for another spotted cat. Hello! So we are still here with Mvula, and he's done a few things. He's gotten his head up, he's groomed a little bit, now he's fighting off some annoying flies, and that's pretty much it. How amazing though that we've had 2 leopards this afternoon, and we've had pretty much the before and after in all senses. So we've got the young male, or well, not so young, the mature male in his prime, advertising, marking his territory, calling, and then obviously trying to stalk the Impala, trying to see if he can get around, and then we've got the older retired male who's already got his kill, and everything else is pretty much done for. He doesn't seem to be too worried, although I know Tristan was mentioning that he should be worried if Tingana comes around, but by the sounds of it, they're still quite a distance apart, so I don't think they'll be bumping into each other anytime soon. But when the night comes, you never know. Things might just get a bit more active. Also, I think Mvula's relaxing, is enjoying the pretty life. We can hardly see him with that camouflage in between the leaves and the bushes and everything else. But he will probably have to worry a bit more as the night starts coming, just in case there are any hyenas lurking around, potentially lions or any other thing that might come from pretty much anywhere that might be attracted to the smell. I have a suspicion he hasn't quite opened the stomach contents of the Impala just yet, just precisely to avoid that, to avoid bringing a bit of attention to him and just to try and delay this process as much as he can. He is an elderly leopard, so I'm sure taking the kill and trying to hoisting it in that tree that I showed you earlier, that is maybe about 300-400 meters away from us, is not going to be the easiest thing. So I'm sure he's trying to delay as much movement as he can. Look at those beautiful paws with all those pretty markings, all those spots around there that are actually called rosettes in the case of a leopard. Oh, what a gentleman of you, crossing the paws like that. Yeah. So he is hiding quite well. Riti, you'd like to know how many hours in a day a leopard can sleep, and it varies quite a bit. Normally, just like the lions, they tend to sleep throughout the hotter part of the day, and they are what a lot of people want to define as crepuscular. Crepuscular meaning that they are going to be moving, or they're going to be more active during low light conditions, so either early in the morning or late in the afternoon. Often though, they'll sleep anything, I would say, venture out there between 10 to maybe 16, 18 hours in a day if they have a full belly and no particular reason to move around. However, even in Mvula, when he's like this, should there be any noise that he recognizes another animal, very, very quickly he would stand up and, just pay attention, look around, see what else is happening. Obviously, they wouldn't just let anything catch them by surprise, because they are also opportunistic animals. So if he didn't have a kill, and he could perfectly well be sleeping down here on the ground, they don't always sleep on trees, although it seems to be the more comfortable thing for them to do. He could very easily just start stalking something, going after it, if he got startled or if he got the scent. Probably water not too far away from here. Not really good reason to wake up or anything else. So he's actually been on and off, just trying to sleep for a little while. I would imagine that this morning's hunt really took it out of him. So obviously it's a big Impala ram. Sometimes they're about maybe 60 to 80 kgs, depending on how big they are. I cannot see the horns from here, but I'm guessing from my conversation earlier on with VM that it was quite a big ram that he had caught. So a lot of the times, all of this energy that they have to use, or they have to try and regain it, and sleeping is probably the best way to do it. VM was actually quite surprised at how slowly he's taken his time, because I clearly don't know or haven't seen Karula all too much, and well, I don't think I'll be seeing her in the near future. Hopefully I will, but he was just commenting on how much quicker she would have already finished the skill, or at least moved it or done something. But just like people, all leopards are different. They have their individual characters, and sometimes they just take their time, do things their own way. Funny that you ask, how would a leopard eat a porcupine? The first time I saw Mvula, he was actually eating a porcupine. Funny enough. So, a few porcupine quills sticking out of him, and if you see ever lions hunting, they tend to do that quite a bit as well. But they will start with the back of them, and they face this way, so they will try and start from the bottom, because if you had to turn it around and put the belly up, then they obviously where are and everything else, and the meat, they really don't have any quills there, so it's a lot easier for an animal like a leopard to try and get underneath it. So my guess was that he will eventually try and rotate it just to get to the softer part, so that he doesn't have all these things sticking in his eyes and his body and everything else, because it will bother them quite a bit, and they don't want to be hurt by the quills as much as they would like to be hurt by anything else in that animal's body. So that's probably a good way of thinking how they would do it. Also, I would assume that carefully is a good way of eating a porcupine, just to make sure everything goes according to plan. Mom, you'd like to know if I have any funny stories of any leopard that I've seen. I suppose yes. It's always funny when you see the little cubs learning how to climb trees, and it's hilarious because I'm not sure of what they're supposed to do. Claws and the easy one, the coming down part. Is definitely one of a leopard's best thing. I mean, if you look through all these little branches and everything else, it's very hard to see him. We wouldn't even know he was here unless, well, we knew that he was here. We could have very easily just gone past driving and not see him. I mean, look at that. The carcass is a lot more obvious than Mvula, even with all of his coloration and everything else. So for now, it seems that only the flies are feasting on it. Mvula seems still quite happy. At least his head is up now. Sorry guys, I would try to just go a bit forward. Unfortunately, I have a big log in front of me that's not allowing me to go anywhere else. And if we try to just getting across, I think we would probably disturb him. And it's not what we want to do. We would just want to be able to enjoy this sighting without causing any unnecessary stress to this old warrior over here. At least he's got his head up and he's busy panting. I don't know if you can see his eyes through the bushes over there. He's in that almost that sleepy stage where he's aware of what's happening. He knows we're here and he's hot and he's probably hungry, but oh my goodness, he's still too tired to do anything. Huh. Every now and again, you can see the odd fly annoying him. Before we had that bit of a communication problem, you guys were asking me about any interesting leopard stories that I had. And I think also one of the funniest moments that I can recall, because it never ceases to amaze you how much these wildcats that live here, and they have probably are some of the toughest creatures around, have so much in common with our little domestic cats. So I remember at one point we had the Scotia female that I was telling you earlier on. She had her cub and they were busy playing all around a drainage line. So a dry riverbed, they were going up and down, following each other, and then it was hilarious because at one point, and I managed to just capture a very blurry photo of it all, the mom was going on the riverbed just trying to find her, and the cub jumped on top of the mother, and the mother, just like on those funny videos that you find online, like jumped all the way like this, like proper cat, started hissing and then just bolted and started running away. It was just, I think, one of the funniest things that I've ever seen with leopards. Other than, you know, cubs being naughty and annoying their mothers, I think that was one of the things that struck me the most. It's hilarious how we all have a little cat back at home and we really think, if we think about it carefully, they could very well be a leopard. I mean, they share so much in common. If you think of this boy over here, doesn't he remind you somehow when your cats are happy and content? I think his life is quite sweet right now. Not too many things to worry about, not too many leopards around here. While we wait around for this old male to let us know if he's going to have a bit more, let's just go back to Tristan and see what action he's got in store for us. Well, it seems like Mvula got or heard what Tristan was saying about Tingana potentially moving up into this area, because just a few seconds ago he decided it was enough, got up and then moved the carcass around and then started going at it pretty much. So he's just been busy trying to pull off as much hair as he can so that he can try and get underneath. Oh, look at that fierce look. And just as I was explaining earlier, you see that he's tilting his head sideways. So he's doing that because of the particular teeth structure that some of the predators have. It allows him to cut through the skin. So imagine if you had a scissor, that's what his teeth are enabling him to do. And just to do it better, then he tilts his head to the side just to try and cut through the skin, to try and get to what's underneath. Seems like he's just busy looking at what part is it. You see over there? Perfect. So you see the canines are not really doing much right now. Also, it seems like our old boy here has a broken one, but he's just using the teeth further along the jaw just to try and get it there. And then the canines come into place, yeah, when he's trying to rip a bigger piece apart. No, if you... Christina, you would like to know what would happen if other predators come along while he's busy eating. Well, my first thought would be depending on what type of predator it is. So if it's another leopard or a hyena perhaps, he might try and defend his kill. Just there will be probably a bit of growling, snarling and all these things just to try and prevent him from coming along. However, if it were something bigger like a lion, I would assume that because he's an older guy, he would probably just take a step back, just go away and probably just lay low, just to make sure that he doesn't how can I say this? He doesn't risk his life in order to protect his kill. Being a solitary animal, and in this case, like we've mentioned, an older one, he can rely only on himself to feed himself, so he cannot risk having an injury from another predator. Having said this, one of the most common things that leopards tend to do around this area is just to try and finish as much as they can of the kill on the ground, or just make it as lighter as possible. So if there's a big tree around, they can put it on top of the tree, carry it and leave it there, and then that way they can return to the kill, and then they'll be safe and they'll know that they can just feed off of it while nobody else will be able to steal it from them. You see, there's those beautiful light-colored eyes, exactly like his mom. Olga, you'd like to know if leopards would eat mice like a normal domestic cat? Well, there are different species of mice around here, and my answer would be probably yes, if they manage to catch one. Leopards are opportunistic animals, and they will feed on a myriad of very different things, from squirrels to porcupines, like we were saying, to little mice. However, for a leopard this size, something as small as a mouse might just, be something like a little Dorito or a very small snack. It wouldn't really fill them in, so they would have to eat a lot of them. But for a smaller, like a cub, a mice, or even a mongoose represent a great way of just starting to try their hunting skills, what they can do, what they can't do, and just move around. But they will definitely, if they could, they would definitely eat it, or at least go hunt for it. I would assume that the mouse had it in its favor if it were in an area like what we are now, that it's, as you can see, quite thick, quite grassy, that they'll be able to just scurry along the bottom part of the grass and just run away and just lose the predator, so because they wouldn't be able to see them or follow them around here. Alright, seems like there's a bit of dragging going on. I wonder if he's going to try now and reposition this Impala and just put it a bit further away. It does seem quite busy in the process of still trying to cut it open. And what normally happens with male leopards, or any predator in general, is as they get older, then their teeth also start becoming a bit blunter, so they're not as sharp as they were when they were younger, so it's a bit hard for them to, or it becomes a bit harder to try and do this as quickly as possible. So sometimes it might just take them a little longer. Here we go. I think, guys, we are going to try and move around just to see if we can give somebody else a bit of a chance to try and have a glimpse. I'm just gonna wait for them to start moving and find out if they want to come around here, because we try to be we try to help each other out and just make sure that everybody's got a chance to see the action and see what's happening. Alright, while we try to figure out the logistics around here, let's go back to Jamie and see what update she's got for us.